So you've got Alice Cooper hawking back-to-school products at Staples. You've got Ozzy Osbourne heading up his family on reality TV. You've got Iron Maiden's members taking a break from touring so they can go golfing, extended golfing trips. These guys have really been domesticated, but is it fair to refer to them as church choirs because they've been domesticated a little bit? Well, probably not. I mean, these guys were and are the princes of darkness in a sense. Now, I have terrible timing, I have to admit to you today, because tossed this topic out, at the time he tossed this topic down, there was like a heavy metal t-shirt store across the street right over there, and now it's like, I don't know what, but there's pink and purple balloons in the windows, and it's not what it used to be. And I don't look out in the crowd, it doesn't really look like there's any really hardcore Iron Maiden fans there, but that's okay, because I can just say whatever I want probably, make it up as I go. These guys kind of built their reputation. They became the icons of satanic rock and roll. Everybody knows about Ozzy biting the head off of a bat on stage, Alice Cooper decapitating dolls, demonic mascots, bloody, crude live shows, and more than that, just really dark, heavy subject matter. Suicide, damnation, possession, murder, war, dark, heavy, icky kind of stuff is what gave these guys their rep. So, where am I going and talking about them as church choirs? Well, a strange thing has happened in all these bands. It's kind of popped its head up a little bit for some of them, and for some of them it's been absolutely a revolutionary turnaround as the Princes of Darkness began pointing to the light. What do I mean by that? Well, let me put it in their own words. Iron Maiden's drummer, Nico McBrain, said, "Because I understand, and most Christian people understand, that sin is the devil's domain, and the ultimate sin is death. But we have a way up, and that's where your faith and your Christianity comes into play. Sometimes I've had an opportunity to talk to people about my faith and what I feel, and maybe that's the way the good Lord is working in me." That's a pretty radical turnaround for this guy who's been drumming with Iron Maiden from the very beginning. Alice Cooper has said of this beginning to point to the light, this turnaround in his life, you don't work your way into heaven, and you don't work your way out of hell. The work's already been done by Christ to get to heaven, and by not accepting, that's what gets you into hell. And so, that's not going to be a popular thing either. But you know, it's really not my job to make it popular. There's some very active conversation in the back corner there. I don't know, distracted. You know, there was a day when I used to do stuff like this in a venue downtown, and I'd literally get heckled because of the nature of the venue. And you know, I just got soft over the years because I get distracted so easily. I kind of empathize with Ozzy up there on the stage and how he kind of drifts in and out of the show. Speaking of Ozzy, back in Black Sabbath's heyday, with Ozzy heading them up, well, they've never had these radical turnarounds. They've had this really strange popping up of a very spiritual, very positive subject matter in a song called After Forever. They sing, "Could it be you're afraid of what your friends might say if they knew you believe in God above? They should realize before they criticize that God is the only way to love." That's strange stuff coming from Black Sabbath, but there it is. So, how can these guys wallow in such dark subject matter and yet claim this Christianity? How can they do that? Well, I think it's a matter of perspective. Anybody can stand on a beach stand like this, and if you place your hands in just the right way, it looks like you're holding the sun in the palm of your hand, a sun that is millions upon millions of miles away. You can wrap your mind around a lot of things through a change of perspective. You can see things very radically, and that's what's happened for some of these guys as they've looked into their lives. But none of them have stepped completely away from what they used to be singing, or even the style of stage show that they once had. And part of that, I think, is a radical turning around of perspectives. It's taking what they once were, what they now are, integrating them in a really sort of interesting way. And they've all spoken about that. Again, the drummer of Iron Maiden said, "The usual question I've been approached with is people coming up to me and going, 'How can you play Number of the Beast?' Well, hang on. It's a story. If you look in the book of Revelation, it tells you about all of that grief, all that business. And that, by the way, was a song written from a nightmare that Steve had. And my opinion is, well, look, one of the greatest tricks the devil ever pulled was making you think he doesn't exist. And I can tap people on the shoulder and say, I'm not glorifying him. If I was, then I wouldn't be a Christian." Alice Cooper has said of this turnaround, and he's kind of characterized himself now as a prophet of doom, in a sense, a prophet of what happens at the end of excess. I was trying to make the point that Hollywood tells you if you're 15 and you haven't been laid yet and you're not high all the time, then there's something wrong with you. I think that's the worst message you can give a kid. He's got all his life to deal with that. Why are we forcing him into all these heavy things when he's 14? Well, it's because it makes money. Don't buy into it. You don't have to. In fact, you're the hero when you don't buy into it. Now, Alice, there's a change of heart. There's a change of what I believe. Now, I'm telling you with more authority that you don't have to buy into that. And when they say, "How dare you?" I go, well, you know, I'm not going to sell as many albums doing this. But I don't care about that. And really, it's not what I'm saying. It's what Christ said. I'm just trying to echo what he would want you to do. But it's funny that I have to use the Alice Cooper character to get that point across. You ever seen these people that had "What Would Jesus Do" bracelets and T-shirts and bumper stickers and all that? You ever seen that whole? I'm not really a big fan of that kind of thing because, you know, what would Jesus do? I don't know. He'd kick over tables and chase people out of temple. He'd walk across a lake. You know, and probably wouldn't. I'm not capable of doing what he would do. But I think you could maybe start a whole new marketing ploy with "What Would Alice Cooper Do" bracelets based on his statement right there. I'd wear those. He'd probably have, you know, big bloody studs coming out of them and stuff. But finally, Black Sabbath, again, popping their head into this strange territory, writes, "Perhaps you'll think before you say that God is dead and gone. Open your eyes. Just realize that he's the one. The only one who can save you now from all this sin and hate." So, if these guys are able to recontextualize things, if these guys wallowing in really dark subject matter, looking into the darkness of the world and taking it pretty seriously, can come to this perspective, maybe there's something in that. Maybe it would do us all well to take the darkness seriously, to look at it for a minute. The darkness within us, the darkness in the world, perhaps a darkness that runs deeper than that. To take it seriously. And I think that when you stare for a moment into that, it either consumes you or it repels you to the point that you reach out for someone beyond. That you perhaps, as they do, reach out for Christ. And I believe that when that happens, you find a hand reaching out for you. I think that might be worth talking about this afternoon. So to that end, or to whatever end you want, here's some questions, here's some thoughts, another quote, some things you might want to toss around with the people gathered around with you this afternoon. And take it where you want it to go. Beyond that, all the time, for every one of our topics, for the last couple of months anyways, and ongoing, you can just jump onto this blog site, and you can drop your brilliant comments right onto that site, and kind of get a conversation rolling with this. So anytime you want, that's right there. You can enter the conversation anytime you want, however you want. Thank you for listening this afternoon, and God bless you.